marvelous. Simply marvelous. Ay, 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 ay. How's everybody doing out there? It's Guess Who, Daniel Gray, the Trailer Park Prophet, coming at you live, loud and proud from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado. This is Loco Friday. Muchas gracias for being here. All right, everybody, let's see. What do we got here? It's March 21st. Oh, my God. I can't believe that March has gone by so fast. I swear, it seems sometimes that our life just passes before our eyes. All right, let's see here. What do I want to talk about? Let's go to Drudge, make sure there isn't any breaking news that we should be on top of. A few headlines out of Drudge I want to share with you. Michelle Obama, human rights are off the agenda, I guess, while the First Lady is in China. Human rights are off the agenda, and I'll bet you the environment is off the agenda. And what do you think economic sanctions are off the agenda, too? You think the First Lady is going to talk about how it is that in China they won't or they put such high import tariffs on our American-made vehicles, as an example, or Jeeps, that it makes them unaffordable in China? Some great amount of what we reported on this was some like $5,000, $10,000 per unit per Jeep the Chinese government was putting on Jeeps that we were importing into China. I don't think the First Lady is going to talk about that, but the whole thing with the First Lady going to China and how it's a cultural trip, not a vacation, and the First Lady is not allowing any press to join her. And we got a picture right here on Drudge of the First Lady and the two daughters meeting the President of China, I guess. That's who they're meeting right now. And boy, I'll tell you, the young teenager girl, she has some short dresses. I'm surprised the way the Obama girls dress. You should see them right here. I mean, the older girl, Malia, the taller one, I think it's Malia, and the other one's Sasha. Malia now is, I'm thinking, 15 years old, and she's wearing a dress that is a good 9-10 inches above her knee. Now, Sasha's dress looks a little more appropriate, probably 5 minutes, probably 5 inches above the knee for the littler Obama daughter. And then the First Lady's wearing a very tasteful red dress. Now, it's below the knee. Now, I would have made sure these girls had dresses at the knee, below the knee, if they're going to meet with any kind of foreign dignitary or even be out in public. I mean, they ought to be modest, I would think. Okay, it says here also, China claims victory in battle of First Ladies. I don't know what that's about. Well, I guess we could take a look at that. Oh, you know what? I'm not really interested. Never mind. All right, let's see what else is trending. I actually did click on that story, so I don't know. Here we go. We got Atkinson. People would be surprised. Oh God, I did screw this up. All right, I did accidentally go to the story about China wins. No. Here we go. Here, we're all right. It says Obama to meet again with the tech CEOs on privacy. I bet you that's going to be quite a meeting. And the real meetings are going to be when people like Zuckerman, who owns Facebook, has a private face-to-face with the president. And we reported that they've had a few phone calls. And that was leaked to the press, even though we don't know what was the subject of that conversation between Mark Zuckerman, owner of Facebook, and the President of the United States. But let's hope that Zuckerman is more of an American than he is a sycophant friend of President Obama. Let's see. Oh, Atkinson. People would be surprised at level of cooperations reporters have with politicians. This is probably the #1 trending story, and we reported on this on Wednesday. There was that television reporter from California someplace, and she was talking about her experience with the Obama team press office. She actually talked with Jay Carney, who is President Obama's press secretary, and she inadvertently gave away how the administration is now accepting questions before the press briefings from the reporters, and that allows Jay Carney, Obama's press secretary, to pre-script an answer to these pre-scripted questions, and everyone's supposed to stick to the script, basically. And the White House is denying this left and right. And we got some other videos that we're going to listen to today of Jay Carney and others talking about this very subject. And this probably is the biggest story in America right now. And that is that reporters are not going to press briefings, they're going to scripted performances where they have to submit their questions to Jay Carney in advance, and then they even get a copy of the answers to the questions they have to get approved first. I mean, it's bizarro world. And according to Cheryl Atkinson, there is coordination between reporters and politicians, and I'm surprised that all these people are surprised. And you'll remember we were doing a report back in, I believe, around January, February, even before that, about how the administration was working hand in glove with the New York Times. So this is not news. This is not news. I mean, we did 3 or 4 different stories about how the press coordinated stories with this administration. And remember, George Stephanopoulos, he was in coordination with the White House when he started questioning Mitt Romney about whether or not he thought states should do away with birth control, which no one's ever talked about doing. But it was all a setup. I mean, the press, the lamestream media, has been working lockstep with this administration, and yet here we go, we get another example, and everybody runs around like this is some big revelation. So this guy here, Chris Stagel from Philadelphia CBS, he says that he talked to a former CBS reporter, Cheryl Atkinson, this morning on Radio 1210 about the trouble reporters have to deal with while covering the politicians and the government, as well as the current state of investigative reporting. There is no investigative reporting. Responding to comments regarding a Phoenix television reporter, that's who we've been talking about, yesterday, who initially claimed that the White House pre-screens questions from reporters, Atkinson said, I wouldn't be, this is written wrong, surprised if sometimes there is that level of cooperation with some questions. If I need something answered from the White House and they won't tell me, I'll call our White House correspondent. They're friendlier with the White House correspondent in general, so the White House correspondent may ask Jay Carney or one of his folks about an issue, and they'll be told, ask that at the briefing and we'll answer it. Okay, yeah, well, that's fine. They want to answer it in front of everybody. They do not know it's coming, and they'll call you on it. There's that kind of coordination sometimes. I wouldn't be shocked if there's sometimes more coordination. I don't think it's everybody on every briefing every day. I'm pretty sure it's not, but I think people would be surprised at the level of the cooperation reporters have in general with politicians. So you can see this lady is contradicting herself over and over again. She's saying, well, there's not this behind-the-scenes coordination between the Obama administration and or the reporters, and yet she basically between the lines gives us testimony that in fact there is that cooperation. And I talked about the cooperation in the press of these small towns, since this is Local Friday, and how if you want to keep your name out of the local newspaper, all you got to do is buy advertising, join the Chamber of Commerce, make sure you have a visible force on the public square in your local neighborhood, and that will insulate you from any kind of critical reporting in your local protection racket, dead tree news. Okay, let's see here. Oh, we listened to the full podcast. Here, let's see. We haven't done a podcast on the Trailer Park Profit Show.
The Chris DeGaulle Show.
Oh, let's give it a listen.
Talk Radio 1210. WPHD.
Well, I have wanted to talk with her since we got the news that she officially parted ways with our parent company here at Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Yes, Cheryl Atkinson, who was a reporter with them for, Cheryl, a couple of decades? Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, a little over 20 years.
Cheryl, first of all, I've wanted to talk with you ever since that story came out, because you and I have had occasion to talk a number of times while you've been an employee at CBS. And again, I just, full disclosure, they still cut my check. So I want everybody to know that as we get into this. I'm curious to know from you firsthand, have the accounts you've read about your parting ways with CBS been largely accurate or largely inaccurate?
Well, there's bits of accuracy in most of them, but I don't know who's talking to the press inside CBS or what their motivations are, but it's not, I wouldn't say, as usual, it's 100%. It's the entirely accurate story, how things go.
I ask because it's important to me, to be honest, for folks to listen to the show, as it is important for you to be honest. And when you and I talked about the things that you've been investigating while working for CBS, the hassles, the trouble, the ongoing investigation about perhaps your computer technology being hacked, as you were reporting CBS defending you, you've been with them for 20 years, so it's hard to make the case to me that it was a long 20 unhappy years for you there.
Oh, no, I meant what I said when I left, and said something like it was one of life's great honors to work with CBS. I think I did some terrific work, and I had some terrific people supporting me, and loved many of my bosses along the way. I mean, much of the time at CBS was a typical relationship between reporters and bosses, especially investigative reporters, and I was very happy there much of the time.
Now, the thing that I heard a lot about was people with very direct ties to the Obama administration kind of became management in the last couple of years, and that even more so than usual for those of us that are conservatives, tainted honest journalism, that it became very partisan, that it was a sort of a protective bubble around the Obama administration, and that you were unwelcome. You were a thorn in their side, and management had a problem with you. Can you speak to any of that?
Well, I don't want to say a whole lot right now, but I would just say it's not exactly that way. I think there were larger issues than that single. There were components of some of the things that you've said, but there's sort of a cultural thing going on inside the news business as well as in media in general, and a lot of that makes it difficult across the board, in my opinion, for investigative reporting to be successful. And I think investigative reporters at many outlets are having similar problems, feeling like their work is valued and welcome, and getting any of it exposed, and not just on political issues, on a wide variety of diverse topics involved.
All right, I got that lady mixed up. Cheryl Atkinson, as you remember, we reported on this lady several times. She recently resigned from CBS, and one of the reasons she left was because she was getting some pushback on some stories that were critical of the Obama administration, primarily the gun-running Fast and Furious scheme and the Benghazi debacle from 9/11 2012. All right, anyways, I didn't want to listen to that interview, and I'll tell you why. Normally, if I know when it's a good interview, and I'll tell you why this isn't going to be a good interview, and that we're not going to learn much. She is just left her job at CBS, and now she's going to want to write a book. And so she's not going to tell this reporter some juicy information about the Obama administration's connection with CBS or any other major network in one of her first interviews right after resigning from CBS. So we're going to wait for the book, and we'll talk a little bit more about Cheryl Atkinson. But this, I kind of got the wrong story there. But I thought it was something else. I thought it was that reporter from Arizona, which I know we do actually have that for you later on in the program. But I did kind of stumble into what I think might be a pretty interesting story. And I think this is just kind of fun. We'll do this and see how we do on our... Let's see, what kind of test is this? It says, where do you side on social issues? Try this short quiz to see which political party you side with. Oh, I've heard about this. This will be kind of fun. Before we do that, if you want to be on the program, you can do so by dialing 646-716-8506. Again, if you'd like to talk to the Trailer Park Prophet, you can dial 646-716-8506. Again, I apologize to all you callers. I know you got to pay a little money. I think you got to pay some money. And you get on there, and I don't notice you, and then you decide to leave. And I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm trying to get better. I need another screen just for my Blog Talk Radio control room, control panel. All right, let's see here. We're going to do this little quiz here. And isidewith.com, and I'll try and put this on my Facebook page. I wonder if I can share this, because this will be good. All right, we're going to take this, and I'm going to answer the questions, and I'm going to see whether or not I'm a Democrat or Republican. It says, what is your stance on abortion? Are you pro-choice, pro-life? Choose another stance. I'm kind of pro both. Choose another. Ban after first trimester. Yeah, seeing this gives me some other options. Ban after first trimester. Pro-life, but allow it in cases of rape, incest, or danger to the mother or child's health. Yeah, that's what I like. Pro-choice, I don't agree with it, but it's not my right or governments to ban abortion. I'm kind of there. I'm going to go here, though. Pro-life, but allowed in cases of rape, incest, or danger to the mother or child's health. The problem is you have to allow the woman to decide. Ultimately, it's a choice between a woman and her family and her doctor and her guru, and you just can't say abortion's illegal, really. You just can't do that. Do you support the legalization of same-sex marriage? Yes or no? Choose another stance. I believe in allowing for civil unions. Let each state decide. No, marriage should be defined as between a man and a woman. No, allow civil unions for same-sex couples, but don't call it marriage. That's what I think they should do. And the reason I think that is because a lot of the radical gays are using marriage as a wedge issue against the Christians. The fanatical, radicalized gays are pushing the marriage issue, and most of the gays who aren't militant, the regular gays, they don't care if they're married or not. I mean, what is marriage but a contract? Should the federal government allow the death penalty? I say yes. And I wonder if I have another... Yeah, I'm just going to say yes. Okay. Where do you side on environmental issues? Is global warming a threat to the environment? No. Should we expand our offshore oil drilling? Yes. Should national parks continue to be preserved and protected by the federal government? Yes. Should the government raise the federal minimum wage? No. Should Congress raise the debt ceiling? Yes, no. I got to be realistic here. You just can't. You can't stop borrowing money is the problem. You gotta incrementally reduce the curve. Let's see. Choose another stance. No, cut spending. Offset the debt by raising taxes on the rich and reduce spending. No, bad idea. Offset the debt by raising taxes on rich. Dumb idea. Yes, raise the debt ceiling during the recession. No, that's a bad idea. The Federal Reserve should destroy the $1 trillion in government bonds it now holds. Oh my God, these. Add your own stance. Okay, let's see. I don't know. Add your own stance. Reduce debt debt ceiling gradually. grad. Oh, I can't spell. Slowly. Reduce debt ceiling slowly. SLOWY. LY. Slowly. Alright, that's good enough. Alright, let's see here. Moving on. Should the U.S. have bailed out the major banks during the financial crisis of 2008? Hell no. Hell no. Oh, and look, they have a. You can even grade how important this issue is to you. You have somewhat. You have the least, or the other side of the spectrum, the most. I just noticed that. This is pretty cool. Where do you side on domestic policy issues? Do you support increased gun control? No. How important is this? Most important. Should the federal government regulate the internet to deter online privacy? Hell no. And that, I believe that the most. Alright, should we limit federal funds to public schools that do not meet performance standards? Yes, no. Let each state decide. The federal government should take control over the schools from the states. Hell no. The federal government should not be involved in education. That's what I'm picking. Let's see. Where are you on healthcare issues? And interesting enough, should marijuana be legalized in the U.S.? Hell yes. Do you support the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act? Hell no. Hell no! Where do you side on foreign policy issues? Oh, you know what? I got background music. Yeah. It's like we're in heaven floating around. Oh, let me check, make sure we don't have any callers. Here we are on Blog Talk Radio. My name's Daniel Gray, broadcasting live from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado. And this is the Trailer Park Prophet Show. I am your host, du jour. Alright, hang on. I got a phone call. I'll be right there. I got somebody at the door. All right, everybody, I'm back. This is what happens in Citizen Journalist, or with the Citizen Journalist. I had a guy who wants to come over, and I also do landscape construction. He wants to buy some fabric. And that's a good thing because that gives me a chance to earn a little money. Okay, let's go back to this political quiz. Alright, here we go. Where do you side on foreign policy issues? Should the government decrease military spending? No. Strongly. Should the military fly drones over foreign countries to gain intelligence and kill suspected terrorists? Hell yes. Should the U.S. withdraw troops from Afghanistan? Let's see if there's yes or no. Choose another stance. No. Send more troops. No. Not until all U.S. leaders are confident the mission has been accomplished. Yes. Bring a majority of the troops home, but maintain a strong diplomatic presence. Dumb idea. Yes. And only improve future wars through Congress. I'd like to write a qualifier. I guess I would say that if they take away all the restrictions on our soldiers on fire orders in Afghanistan and let them go out there and kill some goddamn radical Islamists, but you know, that's not the question. So, basic question, should the U.S. withdraw troops from Afghanistan? I'm going to say no, and because I think it's better to fight them there than fight them here in our own borders of the beautiful U.S. of A. Where do you side on education issues? Do you support the adoption of Common Core national education standards? Hell no. Where do you side on immigration issues? Should children of illegal immigrants be granted citizens? Hell no. Should illegal immigrants be given access to government-subsidized health care? No. I'm going to say no. And, I mean, the thing is, that there is law that if they're in the country illegally and they show up at the emergency ward, you cannot refuse service. So this question is somewhat, I don't know, maybe, let's see, it says I can choose another stance. Maybe it'll give me a better option. It says no, but their children should have access. No, deport illegal immigrants seeking health care. See, but if, you know, except for emergency care. But no, but they should be allowed to purchase private health care. Yes, but they should be deported after treatment. Okay, that's my best answer so far. Yes, but and there was actually some other questions. I just thought, well, that sounded good. This is a good survey. This is really good. I don't know who does this, but we're going to try and find out some more information. You know what I'll do is I'll paste this onto my Facebook account if you want to try and take this test, because this is fun. Should illegal immigrants working in the U.S. be granted temporary amnesty? Hell no. I want to see another stance here. Would you like us to show all the statuses for future questions? No. Let's see. Should illegal immigrants working in the U.S. be granted temporary amnesty? No, but allow them to stay? No. Remove them from the U.S.? No. Fine companies that employ illegal immigrants? Yes. Create a simple path to citizenship for nonviolent criminals? Yes, but only if they pay taxes. Add your own stance. No. No. I like no. Remove them from the U.S. That would be my desired position. Alright, do you believe the theory, or do you believe in the theory of evolution? Yes. Should the federal government fund stem cell research? I mean, I don't know why that can't be done in the private sector. I really don't. I think that's a red herring issue. Should the United States increase our space exploration efforts and budget? I say yes. Should unborn human beings be classified as people in the Colorado criminal code? I say yes. Would you favor removing the state income tax and replacing it with a higher sales tax? No. And the reason being is income tax is the fairest tax because it takes into account ability to pay. Now, when you go and purchase something at a grocery store or any other store and they give you a flat 7% tax, that doesn't take into consideration the individual's ability to pay. Meaning if you have more money, you have more ability to pay. Okay, here we go. Oh, and it says if you like this quiz, you can like us on Facebook. So I'll like us, and then if you want, you can go take this result yourself. Now I'm punching the budget or the button. Says we are now matching your answers to the candidates. So, I could be a Democrat, GOP, Libertarian, or Green Party. I mean, this is really cool. I side with Republicans on most issues, all right? I'm with the Republicans 94% of the time. I'm with the Libertarians 71% of the time. I'm with the Democrats 24% of the time. The Green Party 15% of the time. And the Socialist 5% of the time. I wonder, why am I with the Socialist 5% of the time? I side with Socialist 5% of the time. Foreign policy. Should the military fly drones over foreign countries to gain intelligence and kill suspected terrorists? I said yes. Should marijuana be legalized? Most important. Science. Should the United States increase our space exploration budget? All this is why I'm more of a socialist. And of course, my stance on whether or not the national park should be protected by the federal government. Well, God, I'm telling you, this is such a cool survey. It's called isidewith.com. And again, you can go to my Facebook page and check it out. But oh my God, I mean, it's just really cool. All right, enough of this. I kind of got sidetracked there. That is interesting, though, don't you think? I mean, people are so clever. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and it's, I think if a lot of people were to actually take a test like this, and this test I just took, I honestly think it's rather subjective. Or objective, excuse me. It seemed very objective. Okay, let's see here. We already talked about the First Lady being in China. Here's a story okay, enough of that story. Here, another story that's trending right now is Newt Gingrich. He's on the Foundry, which is part of the Heritage Network. This was today in an article written by Katrina Trinko. We might have a video. If we got a video, we'll play the video of Newt Gingrich. In case you don't know, he was the Speaker of the House during the Reagan era. And this was posted yesterday. It says, as the date for the oral arguments in the Supreme Court case over Health and Human Services mandate nears, Newt Gingrich is concerned that Americans could be on the cusp of a significant loss of religious liberty. Quote, I think we're in grave danger of losing our liberty and losing our religious liberty. The former Speaker of the House tells the Foundry, I think it's inconceivable that you could argue that the First Amendment doesn't mean what the First Amendment says. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court justices will hear arguments on whether the government can force two family businesses, Hobby Lobby and Conestoga would to provide coverage of potentially life-ending drugs and devices in violation of their conscience under the threat of crippling fines. These families argue that they are simply fighting for the freedom to continue providing health coverage to their employees without facing government penalties. Clearly, whether it's the Little Sisters of the Poor, an order of nuns that is fighting to save Obamacare mandate, or it's Hobby Lobby, or a variety of other cases, Gingrich said, you have a coerced government that is on certain grounds trying to create a totalitarian society in which you do what they say, whatever your beliefs are, and that's the fundamental denial of being American. And of course, Hobby Lobby doesn't want to be in the abortion business, and they don't want to have to provide birth control because they're against birth control. And they're saying that people ought to go and pay for their own birth control. And they feel like that's a moral issue with them. And that's what this court case is going to actually decide. But did you catch this? That's why you're listening to the Trailer Park Prophet, because I can see more in these stories than the average 2-bit preacher out there. And this writer just told us about how the Catholic Church is actively fighting against. Let's see here, let me reread this. Clearly, whether it's the Little Sisters of the Poor, which are Catholic, an order of nuns that is fighting the same Obamacare mandate. Okay, so they are actually fighting that mandate. The Catholics are fighting that mandate. All right, that's a good thing. But, all right, Newt Gingrich goes on. He says, speaking about Russia's aggressive action toward Ukraine, the former Republican presidential candidate said Obama administration should be approving the export of natural gas to Europe and approving the exploration of federal land offshore to drive down the price of oil and to weaken Russian President Vladimir Putin on depriving him of any kind of money he's getting with the high price of oil. Our first goal, says Gingrich, concluded, should be to use an energy strategy that makes America wealthier and makes Putin poor, and that begins to weaken his ability to do anything else. Of course, Obama doesn't think Russia is our #1 geopolitical foe, if you remember correctly. And I was listening to a report by Rush Limbaugh, and he was saying one of the problems that Europe has is that most of their natural gas comes from Russia through the Ukraine. We've pointed this out before, but what Rush was saying, or I think he was citing a report, and so much of Europe has gone green with solar and wind, and the problem with solar and wind is the weather. If the weather is not just right, then there's no energy. If it's overcast or dark, solar doesn't work. And if the wind's not blowing, there's no wind. And that has forced a lot of European countries to have to buy more natural gas during times when the weather is hampered. And so that's guaranteed money for Russia. Cha-ching, cha-ching. And I'm not sure the president understands that. You can't run a modern society. I mean, I know some of these people claim they have, and I don't know that they haven't. There may be a few countries out there that are totally green, but I'm not sure it can power a modern society. You know, when you think of like mass transit, that takes a lot of electricity. It takes a lot of electricity to power pumps, a lot of electricity to power factories, and I'm not sure you can do it without having some nuclear electrical generation or coal or natural gas. All right. Let's see. Oh, I don't know, man. Here's another story where you're not going to read about this in the mainstream media. I got this from Hot Air. And it says a decision by the Pennsylvania Attorney General Kathleen Kane to drop the investigation and potential prosecution of Philadelphian Democrats who were recorded accepting cash money orders or jewelry certainly seem suspicious. According to news reports, investigators collected over, get a load of this, 400 hours of audio and video of 5 Democrats, including, what happened to my story? The story just vanished. Damn, I was digging that story. Where is that story? Ay, ay, ay. At any rate, I did read that story, and what happened was, I mean, they had 400 hours of videotape, and what this story didn't tell you, well, it was done by police officers. The chain of evidence was very clean and concise. And here these guys are on video, and this Democratic woman drops the case against these legislators in Pennsylvania. And in her explanation, which I was just about ready to read to you, she says that the reason the Republicans are raising a stink over this is because she's a woman. They're sexist. And because a couple of the legislators in Pennsylvania that were part of that 400 hours of videotape were black, she, of course, says that it was a black issue. Oh, here, maybe I can get this to post again. I'm going to give you the judge's, the actual Attorney General Kathleen Kane's explanation for dropping the investigation. In her statement, Kane provided only one quote, dismissing those who question her decisions as nothing more than the good old boys club playing political games to discredit me in order to fulfill their own selfish and improper agenda. Oh my God, is she almighty? The statement cited Kane's pursuant of political corruption cases, including the pay-to-play scandal involving Democrats tied to the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission and the corruption charges brought last week against Democratic State Senator Leanna Washington, who I bet is black. And during the meeting, Sprague, Kane's new lawyer, suggested that the Inquirer may have been used by the sources of its stories unwittingly or unwittingly as a weapon to attack Kane to defend themselves from potential charges of wrongdoing in the management of the probe. Says here, I intend to look at the investigation from the very beginning to the conclusion of it, and in terms of what has been published by this paper and others, to take appropriate action on behalf of the Attorney General against those responsible for Alright, on and on and on and on and on and on. Alright, anyways. I mean, there ought to be courts that I'll call an oath court. And anyone that violates their oath of office ought to go before that court and be prosecuted. And I'd like to see more prisons for corrupt politicians and lawyers. We need to have an oath court for lawyers. It shouldn't be in the hands of the Bar Association to reprimand lawyers. I mean, it should be a court. So a commoner can take a lawyer to court. Got to do this story. I think it was Monday we talked about a recent survey, scientific survey in Colorado of Hispanics and their opinion of Obamacare. Well, here comes a national survey from the Washington Examiner, article written here by Michael Barone. Wrote this today, posted it at 11:20 Atlantic time. Says here why Hispanics remain a heavily Democratic voting bloc. Maybe not. The 2008 electoral exit polls showed them breaking 67 to 30% for Barack Obama, despite John McCain's support of comprehensive immigration legislation. And the 2012 exit poll showed them breaking 71 to 27% for Obama, making them one of the few Democratic groups whose support for Obama increased rather than decreased between the 2008 and 2012 election. But Obamacare may be costing the president and his party support among Hispanics. Sharp-eyed analyst Rebecca Kaplan at CBS notes that the latest Pew Research Center poll on Affordable Care Act shows 47% of Hispanics approving of it and 47% disapproving. As the Pew analysts note, this is a huge drop. 61% of Hispanics showed approval for Obamacare in September of 2013. That's not that far away. Obamacare, after all, was sold as a program that would help the uninsured, and a significantly higher than average percentage of Hispanics don't have health insurance. In fact, what we've been learning, what little we have learned, is that we've increased the amount of people that aren't insured under Obamacare, not decreased it. It was around 35 million, and I think now it's closer to about 40 million people out there that don't have health insurance. So it's headed the wrong way. And by the time of the 2014 election, I'll bet you there's 45, 50, 60 million people out there that no longer have health care. Or an additional 30 million people won't have health care by November. So says the Trailer Park Prophet. But that was then, and this is now. Obamacare in practice proved a lot less attractive to Hispanics than Obamacare in principle. The Spanish language website, it's called, I'm not even going to try, was just not just glitchy, but totally inoperative for more than 2 months after the launch on October 1. Quote, when we get into the details of the plans, it's not all written in Spanish. A Miami navigator told the Associated Press, according to the Washington Post Wonk blog, it's written in Spanglish, so we end up having to translate it for him. And of course, the policies and coverage have fallen far short of the president's promise. Now, here's what we're not getting between the lines, and this is what burns a lot of people up. If you're a citizen, you have to be able to speak English. That's part of the requirement of being allowed to be a citizen in the United States. We shouldn't have to provide Spanish anything in this country, for Christ's sakes. And that just tells me that a lot of these people are here in the United States illegally, and they're going to be signing up for Obamacare, even though Obama said that's not possible. We talked about this a few days ago, that you can't deny health care to somebody in this country just because they're here illegally. All right, so at any rate, another example that the Latino Hispanic community is not just a monolithic block of human beings as the progressive socialist status would have you believe. Here's a quote from Charlton Heston. Let me make a short opening blanket comment. There are no good guns. There are no good guns. There are no bad guns. Any gun in the hands of a bad man is a bad thing. Any gun in the hands of a decent person is no threat to anybody except bad people. Charlton Heston. I remember I was sitting in this class one time, it's just a couple years back, and there was this fruitcake in this class, and he was squirming around like a toad in a frying pan, and I thought for sure he was high on meth or something. And I remember at the time hoping that one of those homeboys in my class had himself a nice pistol in his pocket, because I thought this guy was going to go berserk in this class, and I was hoping one of the homeboys was going to put a bullet in his back or something. All right, here's a wish list. I don't know where this came from. Oh, the Tea Party. And it's kind of a wish list. If we were to improve Congress in our country, how would we do it? Well, here's a pretty good start. And it says, here's all I want. Obama gone. Borders closed. Language English. Culture, the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Interesting that he would pick that as the culture, but I like that. Drug-free mandatory drug screening before welfare. I mean, if you have to be drug tested to get a job, it seems only fair that to get welfare, you ought to be clean. Also, no freebies to non-citizens. Also, balanced budget, tax reform, term limits for Congress and senators. Yes, sirree. And also a ban on congressmen and senators from being able to lobby. Only 86% will send this on. Should be 100%. I sent it on. Oh. Here's a, we haven't done a lot of Common Core. Common Core, in case you don't know, is a federal program of consolidation of curriculum under one Common Core curriculum. Basically, the federal government telling all the states what to teach their kids, and I'm against it. Now, this lady, Jane Jefferson, posted this, and this is out of a Common Core curriculum. Apparently, the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution states that citizens must register firearms as a condition of ownership. Did you know that? Okay, so here it is. It says here, this is in Common Core. Amendment, the Second Amendment, 1791. Right to bear arms. Now this is Common Core saying, remember, now I do have my Constitution here. So here, just because we're cutting edge, we're going to go to the First Amendment, read that to you, and then we're going to read to you what Common Core is saying. Alright, where are the amendments? Hang on, I got my handy dandy Constitution right here in front of me. Alright, First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government of redress of its grievances. That's Amendment 1. Amendment 2. I forgot what I was doing. Alright. Second Amendment to the Constitution says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now that is abundantly clear. Our right to bear and keep arms shall not be infringed. That means we shouldn't be told that we can't have an automatic weapon. We shouldn't be told that our magazines for our bullets has to be a particular size. And we shouldn't have to go through background checks. I mean, it's not in the Constitution. It's a right. But under this Common Core, they say that the Second Amendment, this amendment states that people have the right to certain weapons, providing that they register them and they have not been in prison. The Founding Fathers included this amendment to prevent the United States from acting like the British, who had tried to take weapons away from the colonists. So basically, they're telling all these little minds of mush out there, all these creepy kids, that you don't necessarily have an unfeathered right to bear arms, which is anything but the truth. In fact, I would have to suggest that this Common Core in this example is disinformation. And if this is what gets into people's heads, then down the road they're going to say, well, God, come on, it's in the Constitution about background checks and being restricted on the type of weapon you can have, and people will believe that. That becomes their own institutional law, knowledge. And then I got a posting here from my black conservative friend, I think it was her, Angela Bronson, who's gorgeous. It wasn't her though. This says, here's a picture of some Tea Party. No, I guess these are just regular soldiers during the Revolutionary War. They're standing around talking to each other, and then over this picture is the language that reads like this. Right to bear arms only meant muskets. You know, you've heard this before. This is how they've tried to nuance the Second Amendment. That, you know, they're only talking about single-shot muskets. But a musket is an arm. And arms. And so is a shotgun. And so is a AR-15. And so is a machine gun. But anyway, you hear this advanced, and you're going to see it again probably in this election cycle, about that the Second Amendment only gave the right to bear arms, meaning muskets. And this says that's like saying your right to free speech was only meant to include the Old English spoken in the 1700s. Oh, that's just brilliant, whoever wrote that. All right, one more time. Right to bear arms only meant muskets, like saying your right to free speech only meant to include the Old English spoken in the 1700s. God, I mean, some people are just so bright. All right, I didn't read this, but this looks like kind of funny. I've seen this blog before. NRCC. Maybe I haven't seen this blog before, but the title caught my eye, and I knew it would be worthwhile. Oh my God, it looks like we actually have a video. Oh, how cool. I can have a little break. And by the way, let me remind you, my name's Daniel Gray. I'm the Trailer Park Prophet. We're here 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, live from 1 p.m. to 3. And of course, we're archived and also on YouTube. All right, so this article is written by a guy named Matt Gorman. He posted this yesterday. He says here that Nancy Pelosi took to the podium today to celebrate Obamacare as it approaches its 4th birthday and did not go well. Here's the video of all of the disastrous moments. And here's a bad thing, too. Obamacare has been in place 4 years, and all they've done has been planning and spending money and collecting money. And part of the money that Obamacare has gotten over the last 4 years is a cut in Medicare. Obamacare takes half a trillion, no wait, how much? Yeah, $500 billion. Obamacare takes $500 billion away from Medicare to fund Obamacare. So Obamacare has been collecting money for the last 4 years and not providing one medical service. And so here we go. We have a montage. Oh man, I butchered that word. Of Nancy Pelosi talking about Obamacare. All right, Nancy, take it away.
Well, you have to ask them on the net.
All right, I was going to try and quiet the music.
I believe that it's a winner. And by the way, the Affordable Care Act. It's called the Affordable Care Act. I know you don't understand any compromise for derogatory. I think that it's called the Affordable Care Act.
Wait a minute. Oh yeah, I remember this. See, Nancy Pelosi, who was the Speaker of the House of Representatives and still is a congressman, remember she's scolding this reporter for calling Obamacare Obamacare.
In the current environment in a swing district, is Obamacare a winner or a loser?
Well, you have to ask them. I remember, but I believe that it's a winner. And by the way, it's called the Affordable Care Act. It's called the Affordable Care Act. I know you didn't intend any compliment or derogatory, but it's called the Affordable Care Act.
And she's indignant about the reporter calling it Obamacare. Well, Obama calls it Obamacare, for Christ's sakes. He's even said he doesn't mind it being called Obamacare. Now, I'm trying to think, do I have a date on this? And I wonder if maybe now they're realizing that allowing the Affordable Care Act to be called something other is probably damaging to the president and the Democratic Party, because, let's face it, the Democrats own Obamacare. And I don't have a date on this. I'm assuming that it was rather recent, but it, you know, by the tone of her voice tells me that their internal polling at their Democratic Party suggests that Obamacare has got real negative connotations attached to it. Now here's a second video. Said Democrats actually aren't running on Obamacare, though must be news to the DNC. Okay, here is Nancy Pelosi again. And I believe this is in the same press conference, and she's talking about whether or not Republicans, or rather Democrats, are going to run on Obamacare.
Last 4 years, but don't see a lot of other Democrats
I'll start this over again.
championing the benefits of the health care law for the last 4 years, but don't see a lot of other Democrats celebrating the anniversary today. And in fact, some of the messaging that Democrats are running on this term is fixing the problems with the health care law since the rocky rollout. Do you think the law is proving to be more of a political liability for your party? Well, this isn't about politics. This is about the health of America. This is about standing tall as what we did on Social Security, Medicare, Health Affordable Care Act. So this is we don't weigh its value as to what it means politically. We weigh its value as to what it means to health, well-being, economic, and health security of America's families. I take issue, I see these little things in the paper about this or that, but our members, the story that we don't write or see, maybe because you're in Washington and our members are out in the district, is that, and I travel, I see members standing tall. That's their duty for. We're not running on this, we're running on what the American people want us to run on, and that is job creation.
Wow, I mean, you can see that Nancy Pelosi's getting a little defensive when asked about Obamacare and whether or not the Democrat candidates through this election cycle, 2014 election cycle, can actually run on Obamacare. She's getting a little pissy with the reporter. Like, I dare you try to say something bad about a Republican program like the affordable health care. All right, here's number 3. Nancy Pelosi cites Alex Sink as a defender. I can't remember, who is Alex Sink. We did a story on him recently.
Well, I don't know what they are. So, I don't know. Are you in addition? I don't know how many people are there. I was in Florida yesterday. Well, and Alex Sink said that she supported the Affordable Care Act and went to make improvements on it. I say that myself.
Alex Sink. I had a story on him, but I can't remember who that is. All right, now here is Nancy Pelosi during this same press conference, and this is recent. I don't know exactly when this was, but it's rather obvious it was recent. And a headline here is that Nancy Pelosi walked away from the podium when asked directly why premiums are rising for Obamacare.
We're hearing voices in the insurance industry saying that the ACA is going to lead directly to premium increases.
Really?
And you're saying that they're
name
going to
names.
I don't have
Okay,
We're talking this on background and off the record, and we're saying that this law is going to do it. Since it's separate, we don't want to stir you guys up too much.
Well, how can I answer that? Somebody will be nameless that said something in private that you didn't respond to.
Well, the industry is always going to look to blame the law for something. I understand that point, but you're saying that the premiums are going to increase. To decrease. They're saying they're going to increase, and they're blaming the law. So how do you reconcile those two conflicting statements?
And you should see Nancy Pelosi at the podium. She's going through her prepared remarks and whatever papers she has there to answer whatever questions that she's expecting. And it's funny because she's going through these papers and she can't find the answer for why healthcare premiums are going up under Obamacare. And then, she just gets up and walks away, I guess. Now, here is another one of Nancy Pelosi wanted a single payer. Now, remember, the first bill that the Democratic House put together in 2010 was a single payer option plan. And then they shipped that bill to the Senate and they changed it to what we have today. But here's Nancy Pelosi talking about the single payer option and what.
Any bill that passed is not perfect. I want a single payer. I want a public option. So, I have some changes I would make myself.
Yeah, I mean, she wants total control of health care. She doesn't want to be hamstrung by any rules and regulations or statutes. Well, I thought we played this, but here's another clip of Nancy Pelosi calling out a reporter for calling the Affordable Health Care Obamacare. I wonder if this is the same one or.
Well, you have to ask them a member, but I believe that it's a winner. And by the way, it's called the Affordable Care Act. It's called the Affordable Care Act. I know you didn't intend any compromise for derogatory, and it's called the Affordable Care Act.
God damn, I mean, nothing derogatory. Like, what? So saying Obama is racist. If you don't have a compliment to say about the president or his policies, it's racist. Oh my God, we are devolving as a country. We really are. Okay, here's this story. This is the one I thought I had with the reporter out of Arizona. Okay, here's the actual video. And we talked about this a little bit on Wednesday, but this is making a lot of people really nervous, particularly the White House, Jay Carney. I mean, here's Jay Carney. He has this young cub reporter from Arizona show up at the White House. She was probably selected because she gave really glowing stories about the Obama administration, so she's awarded with the White House visit. And she meets with Jay Carney, and he, says, oh, look at all this stuff I gotta know, and here I am in my big cushy office doing this insanely important job for the people of America. You could just hear it. And so anyway, a lot of what this reporter was told by Jay Carney was off the record. And that was the part about where you have to submit your questions to the administration, and the questions from the reporters have to be approved by Jay Carney and his staff, and that Jay Carney and his staff will then answer the questions that they're going to answer, and you get a copy of the answer. And all of that was supposed to be off the record, but this cub reporter was so enamored, was so impressed, was so enthralled with her private meeting in the White House with Jay Carney that she forgot about Jay Carney saying, well, this is all off the record. So she's gushing with her newfound fame of being at the White House, because this can, make a reporter's career. Being able to report from the White House. Not very many people can do that. So here, let's listen to this report on CBS, as Rush Limbaugh says, the eyeball. And I believe this is Channel 5 in Arizona. Oh my God, is she cute? Oh, I know. She got the special treatment because she's Hispanic.
It is the interview you'll see only on CBS 5 News.
President Barack Obama going one-on-one with our Catherine Anaya, joining us live from the North Lawn of the White House. And Catherine, you were able to spend the whole day at the White House.
Yes, indeed. It started very early. We had to be here at 7:45, of course, go through major security. But once we got in, the day really started shortly after 8 with Press Secretary Jay Carney inside his office in the West Wing. It was very informal and off the record, so we were not allowed to tweet any of our conversation. But he talked basically about how he gets his day started, all of the information that he needs to be aware of in case he's asked from reporters or correspondents about certain things in the daily press briefings. But one of the things that I found most interesting is that the reporters and correspondents, unless it's breaking news, they provide the questions to him in advance. And so he is already preparing for the answer, and in some cases, I should say, he actually prepares that answer for them so that they can have that to work on their reports later on. We were able to sit into today's daily briefing. That was quite interesting, too, because it's a lot smaller than it looks on TV, and everybody is packed in there like sardines. But the whole process was just fascinating, and I found that all of the staff here, the key members of the Obama administration, were tremendously gracious to us in hosting us and making sure that we were getting everything that we needed to get our jobs done today. But as I also mentioned, we did try to squeeze in some lighter moments as well, Adam. Of course, you know, we were limited to 4 minutes. I stretched it to 6, but
wow.
we tried to find some moments of lightness today.
Yeah, and it seemed like
lightness
the president himself, too, was a little more gracious with his time than you
sounds
actually
racial.
Just to your point, you were just talking about a number of serious topics that you raised with the president, but you tried to get the lighter moments in there, too. So some basketball conversation came up.
Well,
oh,
yes,
boy.
Because he was already into his final question when time was up. So I thought, you know, I have nothing to lose if I try to end this on a light note, which is what I wanted to do.
Of course.
So I said, oh, by the way, I understand that you have picked the U of A in your Final Four. Listen to this. I know you have Arizona in your Final Four bracket. Why not all the way?
Well, you know, Arizona looks tough. I got to say that you know, they lost a key starter, which was tough for them. And
this is the President of the United States.
I probably would have picked them going all the way. But you know, injuries are just a tough part of any sport.
But our president can multitask, right?
I'm sure they're intent on surprising me.
They're intent on
He was pretty
surprising me.
knowledgeable, right? Pretty impressive. Of course, we all know that he loves
What an
basketball, so I wasn't
arrogant
surprised.
thing to say.
But he's picking Michigan, as you mentioned earlier, so I was going to leave it at that. At least he did put us in the Final Four, right? Anyway, one of the lightest moments, I think, also came, which was quite a surprise to us when we were taking a tour with a curator of the diplomatic reception room, which is where the interview was actually held. The First Family dogs were brought in. That was Sonny and Bo, and
they
I was
look
not
great.
expecting that. And that was a lot of fun because Bo, as you know, has been around for a while, so he kind of had the attitude like, I've been here, done that, and he just kind of sat and watched us. But Sonny, who's the newest dog, he was just a lover, and of course, he was the big hit with all of the reporters who were there.
And Catherine, we've been following you on Facebook and Twitter, and our crew, Z and Edward, out there with you. We've been loving all of the pictures, you and the dogs, very sweet. But you mentioned time was tight, so what else were you able to cover with the president? I'm guessing you were able to get immigration somewhere in there on the table.
Oh, absolutely. We
All right, I
talked
can't listen to her anymore. Anyway, she spilled the beans on the White House and the scripted interviews. And the Obama administration is in damage control, so that's kind of funny. Oh, wait, maybe we have another... Let's see, where am I? Oh, I know where I wanted to go. Maybe I clicked it off. I was on the whitehouse.gov. Oh, here it is. Oh, I don't know how I got here, but we do have a report on board. Oh, this was... we don't have a speech from the president today. We do actually have a speech on Thursday Obama speaks on expanding economic opportunity for women. You want to listen to that? Oh, I know. This is what I want to listen to. This was yesterday. Obama was speaking about the Ukraine. And again, this is from the whitehouse.gov website. And it shows the president out there on the lawn of the White House about ready to jump into his Air Force One helicopter. At any rate, this again is President Barack Hussein Obama. I don't know the time. It was yesterday, like I said. All right, President Obama, take it away. Welcome to the Trailer Park Prophet Show. Again, I know you're a little bit nervous about appearing on the show, but we'd like to know what you think about what's going on in the Ukraine, and we're going to reserve our right to interrupt you because you do have a tendency to drone on ad nauseum. All right, Mr. President, you're on. Oh, man. Come on, Mr. President. Let's go. Our people are waiting.
Morning, Mr. President.
An update on the situation in Ukraine and the steps that the United States is taking in response. Over the last several days, we've continued to be deeply concerned by events in Ukraine. We've seen an illegal referendum in Crimea, an illegitimate move by the Russians to annex Crimea, and dangerous risks of escalation, including threats to Ukrainian personnel in Crimea and threats to southern and eastern Ukraine as well. These are all choices that the Russian government has made, choices that have been rejected by the international community as well as the government of Ukraine. Because of these choices, the United States is today moving, as we said we would, to impose additional costs on Russia. Based on the executive order that I signed in response to Russia's initial intervention in Ukraine, we're imposing sanctions on more senior officials of the Russian government.
That's weird.
In addition, we are today sanctioning a number of other individuals with substantial resources and influence to provide material support to the Russian leadership, as well as a bank that provides material support to these individuals. And we're taking these steps as part of our response to what Russia has already done in Crimea. At the same time, the world is watching with grave concern as Russia has positioned its military in a way that could lead to further incursions into southern and eastern Ukraine. For this reason, we've been working closely with our European partners to develop more severe actions that could be taken if Russia continues to escalate the situation. As part of that process, we signed a new executive order today that gives us the authority to impose sanctions not just on individuals but on key sectors of the Russian economy.
Gives himself authority.
These sanctions would not only have a significant impact on the Russian economy, but could also be disruptive to the global economy. However, Russia must know that further escalation will only isolate it further from the international community. Basic principles that govern relations between nations in Europe and around the world must be upheld in the 21st century. That includes respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity. The notion that nations do not simply redraw borders or make decisions at the expense of their neighbors simply because they are larger or more powerful.
This is like, you broke the rules, naughty, 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 I'm gonna tell the teacher, bow, bow, da, da, da. I mean, this man is, I don't know, just immature, undeveloped, not sophisticated. He's all those things, but he's not very presidential. And he sounds like a whiny little prissy Skippy. Don't do that. You can't do that. I'll tell Mrs. Mary. Don't do that. You know, he's mealy-mouthed. He's weak. God, Mr. President, grow a set. By the way, we got a funny recording. We should get to that. Have some fun. All right, I want to finish this because I haven't heard it. And I'm going to make you suffer along with me. All right, Mr. President, this was yesterday out in front of the White House before our president hopped on Copter 1.
of top priorities continues to be providing assistance to the government of Ukraine so it can stabilize its economy and meet the basic needs of the Ukrainian people.
What kind of assistance?
Europe next week to meet with the G7 and other European and Asian allies. I once again urge Congress to pass legislation that is necessary to provide this assistance. Do it right away.
I thought it was the G8, not the G7. I don't know. Did somebody drop out? Am I missing something? Am I getting some of my international organizations confused? All right, Mr. President. So he's going to Europe. We know he's going to Europe. And Michelle is in China. So the president, now I think this is the trip, right? He's going to go to Europe. He just said that. And then he's also going to go to Saudi Arabia and Israel, right? That's what this trip is about, I think. You know what's going to happen? President Obama is going to link up with Michelle while they're both on their trips, and they're going to get together, and there'll be a big hug on the tarmac with Air Force One and Air Force Two as backdrop. And the Hollywood cameras will be there. Remember how this president is allowed access by filmmakers to the trappings of the White House? All right, Mr. President.
Questions of support are not enough. We need action. I also hope that the IMF moves swiftly to provide a significant package of support
Action.
for Ukrainians as they pursue reforms. In Europe, I'll also be reinforcing the message that Vice President Biden carried to Poland and the Baltic states this week. America's support for our NATO allies is unwavering. We're bound together by our profound Article 5 commitment to defend one another.
Wow.
By a set of shared values that so many generations sacrificed for.
All right, that's a big deal because now we know through back channels that these European countries that are involved in NATO are contacting the president and his people and saying, hey, you're not backing the Ukraine. Does that mean you're not going to back us either? If we get invaded by Russia? So that, I mean, we can tell now that the president is not trusted by our European NATO allies. And he's going to have to go back and reconfirm our commitment to defend Europe, NATO, against Russia. And that tells me that our relations with these foreign countries is a lot worse than the drive-by media and academia would want us to know. All right, Mr. President, continue.
We've already increased our support for our Eastern European allies, and we will continue to strengthen NATO's collective defense, and we will step up our cooperation with Europe on economic and energy issues as well.
Blah, 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 blah.
Final point. Diplomacy between the United States and Russia continues. We've emphasized that Russia still has a different path available, one that de-escalates the situation, and one that involves Russia pursuing a diplomatic solution with the government in Kiev, with the support of the international community. The Russian people need to know, and Mr. Putin needs to understand, that the Ukrainians shouldn't have to choose between the West and Russia. We want the Ukrainian people to determine their own destiny, and they have good relations with.
And they want to have relations with NATO and the U.S. God, you know, it's like there's a huge disconnect in Barack Hussein Obama's mind. And there is, I mean, yes, there is a choice. Do you want to be with Russia or do you want to be with NATO? There is a choice. You have to make a choice. I mean, this president has a real problem making any choices. We know that. He can even decide what kind of dog to get for 6 months. And he's totally misrepresenting the situation. That's why we have NATO. That's why there is a choice, because there is a NATO, or get taken over by Russia. I mean, this is so disjointed and mentally compromised.
The United States, with Russia, with Europe, with anyone that they choose. That can only happen if Russia also recognizes the rights of all the Ukrainian people to determine their future as free individuals and as a sovereign nation.
I mean, it's almost pathetic, man. The president he looks so weak. I mean, his only choice is to continually to harangue Putin and guilt trip Putin into withdrawing his troops out of Crimea. I mean, I don't understand this man.
Rights that people and nations around the world understand and support. Thank you very much, Obama.
No, he's telling Putin to be like everybody else. Everybody else recognizes these treaties and agreements, and we want Russia to do the same. Otherwise, they're going to get ostracized, and I don't know. It just seems so skippy. The president's a skippy. And he went on and on and on, and he really didn't say nothing. I mean, we're going to, if you don't keep it up, we're going to pass more sanctions, and we're going to get other people to pass more sanctions, and you're going to be ostracized from the world community. I'm not sure that Russia's really worried about that, considering they seem to be formulating a agreement with China on everything economic and military. Basically, it looks like Russia and China have basically divided up the world. Alright, I gotta turn on my music before I pop a vein or something. Alright, you're listening to the Trailer Park Prophet. Oh, by the way, if you or somebody you know is thinking about going overseas, you can contact Trailer Park Prophet Love Connection, and we have 20,000 women that we've screened. And you can go to our office, you can meet these women online, we can set up an arrangement, we can fly you to a party in one of 35, 40 countries around the world, and we can assure you that you're going to be in a safe, clean environment, and our women are screened so as to not involve you with any person with a criminal background. Again, the name of the business is the Trailer Park Prophet Love Connection, and you're going to be impressed. We have been the oldest foreign dating service on planet Earth. We really enjoy what we do, and you will see for yourself that finding some companionship on a foreign trip is not a very hard thing to do. Let's see. Washington Times, First Lady Michelle Obama, her two daughters, Malia and Sasha, and their mother touched down Thursday in China for what's being touted as a week-long feel-good tourist event. And you should see this dress of Michelle Obama. I mean, it looks atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. I don't know. I hate to say this, but our First Lady, Michelle Obama, has all of her taste in her mouth. Because this dress looks so dumb. I mean, it looks like it was made by a homeless person. Or, even worse, it looks like it was made by a hippie. You know how hippies like to cut up other things, other material, other clothes, and make a dress out of it, or maybe add some material to make a pair of pants baggy. It looks like Michelle Obama's inner hippie got the best of her on this dress that she's showing to all the Chinese people right now as we live and breathe. Okay, this is kind of silly. Ellen DeGeneres tells Obama everyone is very grateful for Obamacare. Oh, really? Pelosi said we couldn't be prouder of Obamacare, and yet the administration, the Obama administration, is spending $17 million a month on paid advertising for Obamacare. $17 million a month trying to convince people to sign up for Obamacare. And we've reported on this a bunch. I mean, they were spending, what, $45 billion on advertising in California alone to promote Obamacare. And yesterday, I believe this was yesterday, Kobe Bryant was at the White House, or he was on some interview program, and he said that Obama could play for the Lakers. In case you don't know, President Obama is a basketball player, and I've watched him play, and he can only play with his left hand. He's not ambidextrous. I think that's how you say it. He can't play with both hands. I would love to play basketball against the President of the United States. Oh my God. I bet he calls foul all the time. But for Kobe to say that Obama could play for the Lakers, I mean, give me a break. What a brown noser. Oh, this is from the Daily Caller. Remember, we reported that Jay Leno was no longer the host of the Tonight Show, NBC's Tonight Show, and now it's Jimmy Fallon. And we did a report that we felt that Jimmy Fallon was going to be in the tank for Obama, that Jimmy Fallon was one of the president's men, and he was a soldier for the Democratic Party, on and on and on. But it looks like, according to this story from the Daily Caller, that Jimmy Fallon may not be a big fan of Obamacare. And he was on his show, I believe this was last night, and this is actually courtesy of the Washington Free Beacon. Here's a quick recap of how well Obamacare is working across the country. So this might be, I don't know what this is, but we're going to roll it here on the Trailer Park Profit Program. I just have a feeling, because I'm looking in my plastic crystal ball, that this is going to be a good video. We might have to kill the music, though. I don't know how much music actually draws, or I don't know. I better figure this out. I might have to kill this music. My computer's operating rather slowly this afternoon.
About the evils of Obamacare, stories made up from whole cloth, lies.
Dad of 6 and small business owner shocked by a letter from Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Now the Northcott family will have to wait, like 1,700 other clients of Enroll Alaska.
Was being dropped altogether? He couldn't believe it.
Obamacare is so unpopular in the state.
I paid $199 a month. The most similar plan that I would have available to me would be $278 a month.
They have gone out of their way to insure my 14-year-old Yorkie.
Her doctor's office would not take her new insurance.
It broke my heart.
I would say Obamacare is a disaster. I would call it the unaffordable medical tax.
This came on us like a ton of bricks.
You really have no idea whether or not I'll be offered a better plan.
I'm just afraid that if I do get hit by a bus, then no one will take care of me.
The lack of transparency, the horrific surprises.
Why do we need Obamacare?
It's mostly being blamed on the Affordable Care Act.
And the worst case scenario, hospitals closing their doors.
9,400 Kansans looking for new health insurance policies.
Nothing in our medical history has changed to warrant a tripling of the premium.
Cutting back to hiring 30 hours. We've had to do that, and it's horrible.
There's also $27 million in free care and bad debt.
It's very frustrating, but it's more scary because I'm thinking I'm not covered, so if something should happen, is the likelihood health insurance costs are going up.
We're going to have to find that money somewhere.
They are upset, confused, and frustrated.
Insurance that I had paid for myself was being canceled.
A Missouri business owner says he will not be able to afford health care insurance because of Obamacare.
I see it increasing costs more than helping.
We found an Omaha family who did not lose theirs, but will pay a lot more.
24-Hour Fitness is closing its daycare operations. The cuts are a result of the Affordable Care Act.
Well, I got a letter in October when Obamacare was first ramping up.
Probably be offered a substitute plan at a much higher premium.
So big changes for all New Mexicans under the Affordable Care Act.
But those changes aren't necessarily affordable.
I was not pleased that my plan was going to be canceled.
And her computer locked up too. You're just ready to just give up.
More than 35,000 people are or will be losing their existing health insurance.
Told 150 employees it's dropping all health insurance due to the Affordable Care Act.
Oklahoma woman says because of the Affordable Care Act, her husband lost his insurance and almost his life.
Oregon gets a failing grade for getting young adults signed up for health insurance.
Where am I going to have my insurance and what's it going to cost?
Health Source Rhode Island, now the #1 consumer complaint.
Affordable Care Act could force thousands of volunteer fire departments to shut down. Our premium will be jumping 232%.
Health insurance at this point is worthless.
The ACA Marketplace has lost her application.
I'm paying a monthly premium for dental coverage that I can't use.
Small businesses can't sign up on the exchange.
I just can't afford it.
Being denied specialty treatment at the hospital by insurance providers.
We don't believe that it's fair that small business has to pick up this particular pie.
The district could face close to $2 million in fines.
He says, let me explain just how the ACA has destroyed my life.
You know, and that's just a handful of reports that are out there from honest journalists, mainly local journalists, that understand firsthand that Obamacare is not working. This is just a handful. And this is why Obama's numbers and the Democratic Party's numbers are falling. And I know I've talked about this before. People talk about their health care. The media may say, well, there's nothing wrong going on, and Harry Reid can say that all the horror stories about Obamacare are cut from whole cloth, but I'm looking here in my plastic crystal ball, and I can see millions of families out there having problems with their health care now that we have Obamacare. And they're talking to their family members. Their family members are going out there and talking to people in the community, and this subject is being talked about a lot all across America. And the longer Obamacare is in force, the worse the horror stories are going to be. And you're going to see President Obama's poll numbers going down below 30. I mean, he's at 38 right now, right? 38% approve of the job the president's doing, which is low. Very low. Not good. And then another 50% think that Obama's doing a bad job. 54% in one poll I saw think Obama's doing a bad job, and that's because of Obamacare. Let's see. Will Democrats get clobbered in the midterms? Whines Obama. Whines Obama? What's this? I love listening to Obama whine. We used to do a lot more stories about Obama. I don't know why I don't do more. Alright, again, this is from the Daily Caller. Democrats get clobbered in midterms. Whines Obama. Wonder if we have a video. The economy stinks. Obamacare is a disaster. Putin's smirking at us while he does whatever he wants, and the most powerful man in the free world is mewling like a fuzzy baby. Why is everybody so mean? Oh, this is Justin Sink. Is this the Sink we were wondering about before? President Obama complained Thursday that Democrats, quote, get clobbered in midterm elections, blaming a toxic atmosphere in Washington for suppressing key Democrat constituents. Get clobbered? Toxic atmosphere? Okay, here's Obama. The challenge is that our politics in Washington have become so toxic that people just lose faith. Obama told a group of top Democratic donors gathered at the home former Miami Heat star Alfonso Mourning. President goes on to say, they, the infamous they, say, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm not that interested. I'm not going to vote. And that's especially true during the midterms. He goes on to say, our beloved President Barack Hussein Obama, in the midterms we get clobbered, either because we don't think it's important or because we get so discouraged about what's happening in Washington that we think it's worth our while. Well, the toxic atmosphere comes from Democrats, not Republicans, for Christ's sakes. I mean, it's the president that's always name-calling, finger-pointing, lecturing, guilt-tripping. That's toxic. Nobody wants to be talked to that way. Let's see if there's anything else in there. No, I don't see anything. But what a whiny baby. Oh, it's so toxic in D.C. Alright, no callers. We got another 15 minutes. If I missed you, I apologize. If you want to try and call in, 646-716-8506. You can call in and be on the Trailer Park Profit Show. Oh, wait, what happened to this story? I think I forgot about this story. I wanted to do the Jimmy Fallon story on Obamacare. Alright, but we did the other story. Oh, maybe that's what Jimmy Fallon played on his show. Oh, okay, I get it. All of those newscasters that were reporting on people within their news channels about losing their health care. Oh, okay, I get it. Duh. Oh, Trailer Park Profit. Charlie Rangel, congressman, says Obama should have known he couldn't work with mean, racist Tea Parties. Mean, racist Tea Parties. This is kind of interesting. Here is a picture of cages and cages of dogs. Looks like some cages have as many as 5 dogs per cage. And it says here that Chinese activists recently stood up to dog meat traders and rescued 900 dogs bound for slaughter for human consumption. Many of the dogs were clearly stolen family pets, even wearing tags and collars. Huskies, German Shepherds, poodles, not poodles, and the like, many extremely ill and dying from the slave ship-like conditions of the truck and cages. Aww. One woman found her lost golden retriever on the truck, but was told she could not take him home unless she paid off the trader. The activists were beaten after a 50-hour standoff. Wow. Finally rescued all the dogs. However, by the time some dogs had died and the activists were forced to bury them on the scene. So evidently people in China eat dogs. And I know it's just a cultural thing. I'm not going to pass judgment. It's way beyond my pay grade to go into that issue. I love my dog. I couldn't see eating a dog unless I was starving. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Oh, this is an interesting story. I love this story. This is from newshound.biz. And evidently the 7 people, or maybe it was just one woman, was trapped on a deserted island for 7 years. And somehow they were able to find this woman. Her name is Jermaine Sheridan, and 2 friends. I guess they set out on a voyage from their hometown of Liverpool, and they wound up on this desert island, and they were trapped until someone was looking at Google Earth and saw this SOS in the sand. The classic story. And they've been there since 2007. Can you imagine 7 years on a desert island? Oh, I love this story. Love this story. This is from Weasel Zippers. Yeah, I love that name. This story is from Spokane, Washington, March 19th, 2004. Suspect serial killer is offering an unusual defense to try and avoid punishment for murdering at least 3 women. Because he had a sex change operation in 2000 and now lives as a woman himself, he argues he is now a completely different person and cannot be held responsible for anything he may have done before the operation. Reports KXLY.com. Douglas Perry, now 63, who now goes by Donna, was arrested late last year after DNA evidence linked him to the murders of prostitutes, and it gives their names here: Yolanda Sapp, Kathleen Brisbois, and Nikki Lowe, whose bodies were all found unclothed in the Spokane River in 1990 with fatal gunshot wounds. He is being held in Spokane County Jail under a $1 million bond on 3 counts of first-degree murder. Police linked Perry to the murders of the 3 women using fingerprint evidence and DNA found under the victim's fingernails, and they also found the car. Okay, but anyway, they found the gun, they found everything. But the question, of course, is whether or not this guy ought to be able to make the defense that he's now a woman, and that somehow his sex change operation means that he is, in fact, a new person with a different legal standing. And I wonder, is he going to make the argument that as a man, he was inherently violent and vicious and a sexual predator because of the innate drive of men? I think he's going to make that claim, that men are naturally predisposed to being sexual predators. But as a woman now, he's relinquished all of that DNA and is in fact a different person. Now, if this case goes anywhere, if this guy is allowed to skate on these 3 murders using this defense, this transgender defense, it'll be over. Really. I mean, anyone that kills somebody, all they got to do is claim they're in the process of changing their gender assignment, as they like to say. And they wouldn't even have to admit that they're going to do it. All they got to say is that they're going to do it. They don't have to commit. They'll just say, well, you know what, I'm sorry I killed my wife and 3 kids, but that was when I was a man. Now I'm switching over to a woman, and I'm a more congenial human being than I was as that other person, that separate identity. I mean, could be kind of tricky, and the way things happen, and particularly this case here. So wait, this was in Seattle, so that's in the 9th District Federal Court. So this court has a good chance to see this case, whether or not this guy's going to be allowed to use this transgender defense. But I see a lot of problems with this. I mean, this definitely will help the transgender doctors. They're gonna probably see an increase in felon committing men wanting to get a sex change, and I guess it'd work the same way for a woman. If she commits a crime, federal capital crime, she could all of a sudden decide, well, it's time to get a plumbing change. Oh, Shakespeare. May we live in interesting times. I already reported the press was not allowed to cover Michelle Obama's tax-funded vacation to China. No press allowed. Just wanted to say that again. Oh, and then this was from Breitbart. I don't think we have time for this. White House press corps deny Carney given questions in advance. Talked about that story. And I thought here we'll end on liberal murder towns. And this guy, I think we've had him on the Trailer Park Prophet a couple times. Wild Bill for America. Take it away, Wild Bill. Welcome to the Trailer Park Prophet.
Liberologist, I am working to cure liberalism in our lifetime. Truth is the best medicine when it comes to liberalism. It is the chemo that kills the liberal cancer. Well, here is today's healing medicine from Harold Hoffick. When it comes to murder, the USA ranks 3rd in the world. That's pretty bad, isn't it? Makes us sound like a horrible country, doesn't it? Makes Americans sound like horrible people, doesn't it? And to those who are common sense challenged, also known as liberals, that makes them think that they have to do something about those awful guns. But when you remove Chicago, Detroit, Washington, D.C., and New Orleans from the list, the USA drops from number 3 in murders way down to 4th from the bottom of the list. Gee, what do those cities have in common? Well, they've all been run by Democrats for decades. No Republicans, no Tea Party. Those cities have the strictest, most unconstitutional gun control laws in America. The evidence is crystal clear what that does to the murder rate. But liberals don't care. They demand the same laws be forced on all Americans in every city. Liberals are not just common sense challenged, they are morally and ethically deficient as well. They know what they have done to those cities, but they don't care. Well, here's a Wild Bill bullet of truth for America. If the white liberals in California were murdered at the rate black Americans are, the Democrats/liberals would be screaming bloody murder in every media outlet. So why are they silent when their policies are causing the violent deaths of tens of thousands of black Americans?
Good question.
Are they doing it intentionally? Is it possible that liberal Democrats have created their murder cities to carry on their old KKK activities? After all, the Democrats started the KKK and have always opposed policies that would genuinely help blacks in America. Whether the murder cities are intentional or not, I think it's pretty clear that the KKK would be extremely proud of today's Democrat Party. They are accomplishing what the KKK wanted to do until white conservative Christian Americans stomped the KKK into obscurity. This is Wild Bill for America saying, think about it. Thank you for watching.
Wow, that's a lot to think about.
Bless God again.
I've never heard anyone take that tack before, but I think it's a good question to ask. That was a good way to couch that question about all the violence going on in major cities in America. Okay, here's Jay Carney. Again, this is on whether or not that Arizona television reporter was correct when she said that reporters routinely had to submit their questions to Jay Carney. I think that we got a video here. I heard people talking about this interview. This is the damn it. Thursday. He personally, damn it. Maybe I don't have the video here. I thought I did. Hang on a second here. This could be it right here. Alright, Jay Carney, let's see if we got a video on you, bro. Maybe we don't. Darn it. I went to the White House. Oh, here we go. Maybe we do. No, it's that girl again. Damn. I went to whitehouse.gov specifically to get Jay Carney's answer to whether or not they were actually scripting questions in the White House briefing room, and I couldn't find it on the White House site, so I don't know why that is. In 2013, Americans will spend more in taxes than they will on food, clothing, and housing combined, according to Tax Freedom Day. Atheist group threatens to sue Wisconsin's Republican Governor Scott Walker because he references the Bible in his Facebook page. Losing sleep can lead to brain damage, scientists warn. Again, all these stories are on the Trailer Park Prophet Love Connection. Fred Phelps is dead. He's that hateful pastor with the Westboro Baptist Church. He hates homosexuals. He died, thank God. And unfortunately, a lot of the lamestream media want people to think that all Christians are like Fred Phelps, but of course they're not. But what are you going to do? Roush. We're going to end on this. We're going to take you out with this. This is a Rush Limbaugh parody of Barack Hussein Obama.
90 seconds.
Come back when you grow up, hair.
Let me set this up. This is a parody, and the guy singing this song, Come Back Barry, When You Grow a Pair, is supposed to be Putin, President Putin. And Barry is the President of the United States. All right, take it away.
Come back when you grow up, hair. Why, you're still talking with your nose in the air.
60 seconds.
Conquest is tough, so come back,
baby.
When you
grow up hair, grow some.
I'm in control of Crimea now, but your mind hasn't gotten the message somehow. You really can't take it when the going gets rough. So come back, baby, when you grow some. I would respect you, but your wide-eyed innocence has really messed up your mind. Yeah, it's time to teach you. This is not patty cake. Back it up when you draw a line. Iran, Ukraine, and Syria. Prove you're still living in a paper doll world. Your allies are uneasy because I call you both. So
come back, Barry,
when you grow
some. Come back, Barry, pair.
Why you're still talking with that stupid nose in the air? Speech is not easy. Conquest is tough. So come back, Barry, when you grow some.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio.
Come back
when you grow up, hair.
Why is his nose still
up in the air?
Vladimir Putin in the recording studio just last night, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what's more hilarious, that song or Obama saying that Putin just annexed another country out of weakness.